Welcome back to my channel, and I hope the experience I share today proves helpful to you. I have a question to begin with. The question is, are people good at multitasking? And the reason I ask is because I'm not. I'm really bad at it. And I want to share with you how my own multitasking challenges created a nightmare for me during a time I rebalanced my investment portfolio. First, though, I wanted to see if my multitasking problems were just a me problem. So I asked ChatGPT, are humans truly capable of doing more than one thing at a time? Or does performance tend to suffer? What does the science behind it say? ChatGPT gave me the following response in part, and it said, scientific research consistently shows that for most people and most types of work, true multitasking, doing two or more cognitively demanding tasks at once, is largely a myth. The human brain is not wired to perform multiple complex tasks simultaneously. Instead, it rapidly switches attention between them. Each switch carries a cognitive cost in time and accuracy, leading to slower performance, more errors, and increased mental fatigue. Let me set the stage for you on how multitasking bit me in an IRA rebalance. Near the end of my career, I set up my home office like this. It was sort of minimalist in nature, but I still used a two-monitor setup so I could attend meetings in one monitor. I was a software development manager and my career was pretty meeting heavy. And then in the other monitor, usually just the screen for the laptop, I would use that one to check emails, to chat with members of my team, to do whatever else might be considered multitasking. And I actually thought I was doing this quite well. Also, what was happening at this time is my custom was to rebalance my portfolio twice a year, and with the arrival of September, it needed to be done again. I figured I could use these two monitors to rebalance the five self directed IRAs I had at a couple of institutions inside the 30-minute window between when the stock market opened and when I needed to be to a meeting to start my workday. I worked on separate accounts on the two monitors as quickly as I could, and I wasn't paying as close of attention as I should have. On one account, I wanted to buy the Schwab US Small Cap ETF with the ticker symbol SCHA. But check out what the search bar did in the account when I entered that. It brought up multiple options that I could select from. And as I was working pretty quickly, apparently what I did was somehow instead of selecting SCHA, I chose the second one, Schaeffler AG. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And that's ultimately what I bought. I was clicking through confirmation so fast, I just didn't catch it, though I caught it pretty much immediately after the sell was done and executed. And so I tried to go back and enter a sell order to get rid of it and buy the stock that I really wanted. But the order just sat there unexecuted, and I had to stop and get on with my meetings and my work day. Embarrassed by what I did, I reluctantly wrote this email to my fee only financial planner at the time. So I'm just going to kind of go through what I wrote. And here's what it says. Hey, my fee only advisor. I'm pretty sure I just made a costly mistake when I was rebalancing my accounts last Friday. Note to self, don't have multiple browsers open on two monitors, hurrying to finish rebalancing several accounts before you need to be at work. Anyway, in short, I was trying to rebalance a position in the SCHA ETF in my Merrill IRA, but somehow in the rush to get done, I actually ended up buying an OTC over the counter stock instead. I must have clicked the wrong item in the drop down list that popped up, and obviously I wasn't multitasking well. At any rate, I bought SCFLF to the tune of 16,000 or so. Of course, realizing what I did right after, I tried to execute a sell order, but the over the counter market for it is shallow in the US. I did more research on the company, and it looks like it has been around quite a while. It manufactures products for the automotive industry, is based in Germany, and has around 80,000 employees. It started as a family company in the 1940s and had an IPO in late 2015. So it looks legit, although not performing terribly well right now. It is listed on the German exchange and looks to have a decent trading volume there. For now, I did the only thing I could think of doing, a limit order to sell it at the price I bought it at. Any ideas on how to liquidate this position instead of having to hold this for what may prove to be a long time? It's just not the type of security I want in my portfolio. So the firm I was working with at the time, there were two guys that were doing it. And so he checked with the other guy who was actually held the position of CIO for their little company. And he wrote me back. He says, "Sorry to hear, no more multitasking and trading. Here is from my CIO." And here's what the CIO says: "What he has done is likely right as well, but may not but may want to manage the limit order a bit by checking the bid ask and hit the bid side with small lots." So basically his suggestion was, don't try to sell all the shares in one order, because somebody's going to want less shares than you're selling, and you're going to be kind of sitting on them for a while. So his suggestion was basically break it into smaller chunks and have more sell orders with smaller amounts of stocks. Not sure where he bought it, but presumably much higher than where it is. He could also call the broker and let them know what he has done and see if he can bust the trade, or at least get them to help him out of it. I did not choose to do this. I really thought that would just not be a good thing. And I was willing to be patient for a little while and just try to sell it on my own. I figured if I busted the trade, there would be some kind of heavy cost to do that. So here's me writing back, acknowledging that I heard from him. Okay, your CIO mentioned what I was wondering. Breaking it into smaller lots instead of one gigantic block of shares makes sense. I'll try that and be patient. And so that's what I did. I broke it into a bunch of different orders, um, and I waited. Give you some idea why this waiting was necessary. I want to kind of go through the stock, kind of its trading volume and when it trades. This is its history, and you can see that the market is not deep at all. If you look at the columns on opposite sides, on this left side you've got the date, the trading date, and then way over on the right you've got the volume of shares. These are not millions or anything. That's the volume for the day. So if you scroll through this, you can see there's times it goes days without having a single trade. And even you get down here into June, and it's like there was one trade in the month of June in 2024. Yeah, sure, it was 12,161 shares, but it was only one trade for the whole month. So if we scroll down, I've brought in part of the history of when I bought the stock. So here's my purchase date on September 1st. I bought it at $6.21 a share, and it amounted to 2,600 shares. And after that, I put in the orders. I put in 26 orders of 100 shares each to be sold. And I wanted to sell it at $6.21. Well, you can see, again, it goes days where it's not even traded, and it's down into this $5 range. So I decided after a few months of this, I'm going to lower the price to $6.10 a share, which is what I did. And lo and behold, on December 20th in the morning, I got a bunch of emails bunch of trade confirmations because it had sold at $6.10 a share. And I was elated that this had happened because I really thought it was going to take longer than that. And I was like, well, why did this happen? And how did it happen that they got all my shares in one fell swoop? Because I really thought I'd be selling 100 here, 100 there. Well, come to find out, there was some kind of merger that was announced by the company, and I guess it boosted the stock up a little bit right at that time. So, how much did this little multitasking mistake cost me? Well, for starters, I sold at a loss since I bought the stock at $6.21 and I sold it for $6.10. And since I had so many shares of it, it amounted to nearly $300. So actually, with that, I was pretty happy. That wasn't that bad of a loss for the type of mistake that I made. But that wasn't all, because the fact remains that since the money was tied up in this stock, it wasn't invested in the investment that I intended it to be in, which was SCHA. The, it's a Schwab fund that's a small cap index. And so, had I been invested in that, I would have bought in September. So, you can see I've printed out here the, the performance of SCHA for the last 4 months of 2023. And had I bought in September like I planned, during September and October, I would have had a loss, a 12% loss for that time period. But then you can see in November and December, that ETF really rallied and came back for the year, and it had a 21% rally. So I would have actually ended up with about a 9% return that I lost out on. That, looking at the stock price of SCHA and when I would have bought it and when the end of the year would have arrived, it amounted to that on paper I would have made nearly $1,000. So the total loss for this entire fiasco was about maybe $1,300. So it really kind of stung a little bit. It could have been a lot worse. It didn't need to happen, and I really feel stupid that I let it. So, for me, the lesson to take from this experience is twofold. First, when you rebalance your portfolio, give that mentally demanding exercise 100% of your brain power and time. Do not multitask. Handle the buy and sell transactions with your full attention. Second, do what you can to simplify the process. At the time I was doing this, I had multiple IRAs at multiple institutions. And since that time, I have consolidated down my IRAs so I don't have as many to deal with. It's much easier to think through the rebalancing process this way when the accounts are simpler and there's fewer of them. And finally, I just want to say that I hope you enjoy your retirement as much as I am enjoying mine. Thanks for listening.